Hey everyone, welcome to episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm Uriah Dawkins, your host. With me tonight, Billy Beeman and Jake Kornblum. What's going on, guys?
Bit of a rough start. I felt like we needed that. We needed to just get going. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm stoked. Like I forgot what it feels like to wake up when the media is like singing your team's praises, when your quarterback isn't just absolute ass. I mean, I know you guys haven't had much of that, or maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. But I remember I remember the days, the Patriots, and it feels a lot better. This feels a lot better. But I'm happy to have Jake back. How you doing, man?
Good, dude. I'm doing really well. My insides are pickled with wine, and I probably won't be drinking alcohol for a pretty good period of time because it was substantial. Like it's crazy. You can buy like a 4 or 5 ounce glass of wine, of like really high quality wine, or even like a pint of beer for like €3.50, €4, which is equivalent to, about $5 to $6 depending on the day. Like it's pretty fucking nuts, and it's just nonstop pouring. You're like, how do I say no? How do I say no? And now I'm back here, and I'm like, a glass of wine's like $17. Like, what am I doing? What the fuck am I like? I'm not gonna do that. Like that sounds crazy. Anyway, I'm doing great. I've honestly, I will say, I listen to you guys every single week. You guys absolutely brought the heat, especially last week with Tommy. That was definitely one of my favorite episodes to listen to as an outsider. Just amazing work. Shout out to both of you for engaging him, or not like proposing to him, but engaging him. And yeah, I think the two of you are, at least for the time being. And so, I think that was just awesome. Just amazing work. Just wanted to shout you guys out before we hop into the show.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I don't feel bad for Billy in his quarterback situation. Like, you had Tom Brady for all those years. And then also, like, I mean, just to obviously make it about me, like, I've had like a top 5, at least top 10 quarterback for the last 10 years. And everybody just talks shit about him every single year after year after year after year. It feels like maybe this year people are like, you know what, that Dak guy, he's pretty good. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like,
he is playing pretty well. He is playing pretty well in a rough situation. So definitely got to give Dak some credit.
Anyway,
much respect there. But appreciate the shout, Jake, and shout out to Tommy because he definitely came through with some awesome content. Really fun show. But yeah, man, it's good to have the crew back together. Let's get rolling here.
Cool. Some news nonsense. This is actually pretty sad. Marion Hampton, Chargers are cursed. He is heading to considering we wait high on later. I got ahead of this. Yeah. Anyways, Marion Hampton injured. Is going to be on IR for at least 4 weeks. This is sad news, and wheels up on Kamani Vidal, I guess.
I don't think wheels up on much on that team at this point. I mean, maybe the passing game because they kind of have to lean into that, right? But yeah, it's rough. I mean, I'm sure Vidal or somebody on that team will have a game or two here. I don't know. All these other running backs coming out of nowhere. It blows my mind. I meant to put this on Twitter. It blows my mind. Michael Carter and what's the other one? Rico Dowdle and all these guys don't have. I mean, Rico Dowdle, I guess, has more of a regular job, but these guys who come out of nowhere, out of the woodworks, and have these big games, like, why are they not on a team getting regular carries? It kind of blows my mind. Like, if they're going to do this in this situation, it's not like anything is different about the team other than there being no other running back in front of them. So it's just kind of bizarre to me. And Michael Carter has been relatively okay every time he's ever gotten a chance anywhere. So it's just kind of weird, those things that happen. But bringing it back here to the Hampton injury, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about like Hampton versus Henderson, because we did have, I mean, we at least 2 of us, maybe 3 of us, I don't remember where. I mean, Uriah may have hated Hampton more than we hated him. I can't remember if he was higher or lower. But one way or another, Jake and I were much higher on Henderson than most of the running backs in this class. And Hampton certainly has put out a much better performance early in the season. So I kind of want to just, with everything that's gone down, I feel like it's worth talking about them a little bit, because I also wanted to clean up, like a couple weeks ago, I wanted to mention this on one of the last episodes or one of the subsequent episodes that we had after it. But the situation with Hampton, like him getting the opportunity, there's nobody else there. Whereas with Henderson, he really isn't going to get his chance to shine. And I think that if Najee was still there would have been a lot less work happening, right, for Hampton, and he may not have really seen the heights that we already have seen here, right? And Henderson clearly has a little bit more work to do in development. So like, there's no doubt about it that he has a little bit more work to do there. But there's also clearly 2 veterans in front of him, or were 2 veterans, one's on IR now, that the team
because of him.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He did miss a block. That, you know, we're not giving Henderson the space to come in. And so there is that factor in it. I still think Henderson still has the opportunity to kind of reach the heights that we want. But I guess, Jake, what are your thoughts on that, just with everything we've seen? Because we definitely have seen Hampton be, you know, much more effective even in the carries he's getting, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of this game is about opportunity, and I think you're 100% right. The narrative changes if Najee doesn't blow out his face originally, and you know, he doesn't miss all of training camp and can't see out of one of his eyes. Like, we're talking about significantly different usage to start off week 1, and the narrative, I think, probably changes for Hampton regardless. I think when we talk about the concerns and the learning process by both players, I think we continue to see a lot of the same issues that Billy and I at least shouted out from a film perspective from Marion Hampton through his injury. I'm not saying the injury was at all due to a weakness or something in his play. It was really just like a really strange play that happened, clipped feet with a defender, it looks like, and probably got a high ankle sprain. But with regards to Travion, like, it's really tough to truly understand the mind of the coaching staff because, yeah, there are some misassignments here or there, but does that specifically translate to like what's wrong? Like, is this more so like he's not picking up on the playbook? Like, is there more about maybe some of the off-field effort aspects to his game that we're not seeing? Like, everything that we have gotten a glimpse of from his actual play has been, I think, just as good, if not better, than a Marion Hampton, but the window is much smaller. So like, the very few carries that I've gotten a good look of Travion from, I'm pretty excited about his bursts, his explosiveness, the way he impacts the game for the Patriots, his out of the backfield pass catching. Like, it's all there. I don't think that there's anything missing, but it really is down to opportunity. And to, I guess the point of the question is, if Ramondre Stevenson blew out his eye in the offseason and he was up against, you know, Antonio Gibson, like, I do think that there would be a much bigger role for Travion Henderson to start the year off. I think the Chargers backfield was just significantly more decimated and less talented than what was behind or in front of Travion. But I do think that there are clearly some concerns there that the coaching staff wants, you know, him to continue to learn with and adapt to the professional game with.
Before you jump in, I just want to offer some concerns from, you know, a fan of the team, obviously, and also a fan of the player. But like, I do think Hampton has been better in pass protection for sure. If we're comparing the two players, like, he just simply has been. And Henderson has just missed some assignments, been lifted off the ground by some players. Even then when he gets in the way, like, he has been, you know, he's been mediocre at best. And definitely even when he's hit the assignment, it hasn't been great, right? But there's also the concern that Ramondre Stevenson may as well have torn his Achilles with the amount of fumbles he's put on the field, and they're still giving him more opportunities over Henderson after Gibson blows his knee out. So it's like there's definitely some concern about like why that's happening. Granted, the offense is pretty hard to pick up, so that could, you know, be a fair point from you, Jake. Like, yeah, maybe he is just taking some time to kind of get his feet under him with this offense. It's complicated, picking up everything, just being in the right spot at the right time and all that. But I agree with you, like, in terms of the actual, like, running and pass catching, like, he's been pretty dynamic at every point. And so if they just give him the touches, and everybody in New England in the media seems to be talking about, you know, they just don't think they're going to give him the touches because of his size, and they don't think he can take it between the tackles. But I don't know. I think it's a mistake if they don't do that. But yeah, it's definitely a concern. I really don't see him being this big of a bust as it shows right now. I don't know. What do you think, Uriah?
I mean, what more could I add? No,
sorry. Uriah, we can move on if you want, but
just quick, I would say, I don't know. There's something there that we don't know. We're not there. every day at practice and all that stuff. We don't know what the playbook looks like. We don't know what he's asked to do. Clearly, he's not doing what he's asked to do because all the quotes and comments that I see from the coach talks about how it's very important to keep Ramondre on the field. Just last week, we're talking about, hey, we might see Travion in some punt return, kick return situations. These are actual quotes from the guy who's going to decide whether or not he gets the ball. Something's going on there that we don't know. Is he a good football player? Yeah, we can see that he runs the ball pretty well. But there's more to it in that job that he clearly is not doing right now. All right. Next thing, Joe Flacco, elder abuse. Gonna be the
Truly.
It's great. Apparently, according to I think JJ Zachariason, he's gonna get an upgrade in pass protection from going from 32nd best to 31st best. So Joe Flacco will now be throwing the ball not for the Cleveland Browns, but he'll be throwing for the Cincinnati Bengals.
It doesn't have to go far. Doesn't have to move very far to play for this team, so that's great. But
yeah.
But what I was going to say is that, I mean, the weapons he's throwing to are much better, right? Like, he is in a better situation per se. Like, this is better than Jake Browning, and it's better for the weapons, I feel like. No, like, at the very least, like, I'm not excited about Joe Flacco. I'm not buying Joe Flacco anywhere. I'm selling him. I'm trying to sell him for any third, even adding like a fourth or a fifth if your league does that or whatever it is. I guess if you could just get a fourth, I'm sure maybe Jake would probably do that too, or Uriah both probably would do that. But I'm pushing for more. Optimistic, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're less excited about him being in Cincinnati than you were in.
Well, I mean, I'm equally as excited, which is
okay.
And he has a significant, and I mean this with my whole chest, significant downgrade on the other side of the ball for his team. That defense in Cleveland is not comparable whatsoever to the defense that rolled out in Cincinnati. So temper your expectations, but hey, man, some yellow balls, if he's still got it in him, I don't know if he does, but
they're like jaundice testicles. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I said that with Uriah. Like, I don't need to add much more. I'm not particularly excited for Chase or Higgins in this circumstance. I put this in the Superflex Super Show Discord earlier. I was like, oh, all this means is that Higgins is going to be the first read on more plays, meaning that he's going to potentially strain his hammy significantly faster this season. So, it's just, I don't know. I think we have way too high of expectations of the impact that Joe Flacco has on an offense, especially now that he's like 41 years old or 40 years old. Like, this isn't it. There were so many other moves that the team could have potentially made for them to have a playoff push, and they should have done it earlier too. But there's guys like Kirk Cousins sitting out there. There's guys like Russ Wilson who definitely could have added some significant firepower to their offense. He threw 430 yards against the Dallas D, so I wouldn't want to talk about it. And then, there's also Jameis Winston. I think all three of those options are significantly better than Joe Flacco. So anyway, I think my point is that since he went the worst direction they possibly could with a quarterback who can't handle pressure even worse than Russ Wilson, and that's saying a lot. So let's keep it.
They went with the cheapest option because they're a poverty franchise. So,
like, Jameis, I think is on like a 2-year, $8 million contract. Like, can't be cheaper than that,
would have been
right?
The move for sure. That would have been the move. But is that? I mean, are the Giants?
Do the Giants want to trade him? I don't know.
That's
Probably
the thing.
not.
Yeah. Tommy in the YouTube comments. Jake's back. Welcome to the show, Tommy. Yes.
He wants to see my back.
Jake back. Jesus. Please keep your shirt on, please. Oh my God.
All right. Some news and nonsense here with some waiver wire defense PSA. I believe this might be a Jake PSA because he's pretty active on the waiver wires, picking up guys and trying to flip them for way more than they're worth.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry. Darren Waller looks like a fucking stud right now, and I picked him up everywhere. Anyway, yes, this is just a quick PSA. This is something that I've noticed just in general, probably because I'm the guy who is making the most amount of moves typically in almost all my leagues, except for some reason in our bet. I don't even mean that as like, no, I actually think that's a negative. I think that means I'm spending way too much time away from the family and way too much time on my phone. But I am using this as just kind of a pick up players defensively, meaning when you're going up against opposing teams in coming weeks, check their buys, check how they might need to start maneuvering through their rosters, look at their injuries. If there are teams that you're going up against that need a quarterback, it might be helpful to pick up other backup quarterbacks that have an opportunity to potentially flow into rosters in the next coming weeks. Because if you put yourself in that situation, you can either take advantage by selling said asset for way over costs if they really want to fill in that spot, or they end up typically having to put in a lower non-quarterback scoring player in their superflex spot. In 2 leagues this past week, I ended up picking up multiple quarterbacks across those leagues and ended up having one team play 0 quarterbacks, which was amazing. So they had no quarterback to play. And another team ended up only having 1 quarterback to play. Additionally, I think that there are guys like your Kendrick Bournes and Darren Wallers, we were talking about before, that had
Jake
opportunities.
Tongus.
Who? Jake Tongus, yeah.
Tongus.
Yeah. That you can use to kind of prevent others from using those points against you. And I think sometimes that has a ton of value. And going back to shout out Tommy Blair, I really do think that your bench spots should be as open as possible. I didn't really understand that when I was first starting to play Dynasty. I was like, wow, that's way too heady for me. What the fuck does that mean? But I really do think that there's significant value to those open bench spots, because when you're in these circumstances and you need to make a decision for why am I picking up Joe Flacco again, or Jake Browning, or Mac Jones earlier in the season, I'd much rather be worrying about those types of players now to be picking up through the waves, rather than being like, oh, do I really want to hold on to Keaton Mitchell? And maybe Keaton Mitchell's not a fair example, but like that would be the type of profile that, you know, might be clogging my last spot, or a Kamani Vidal. And now they have the value and I get it, but there's, I feel like, different ways. And Kamani Vidal, for instance, is the type of player that over the last 3 weeks, I would have picked up already. Antonio Gibson in a couple of leagues was available prior to his unfortunate demise that I was picking up. Like, those are the types of profiles that if opportunity sets itself right, kind of take advantage, check the snap share specifically on wide receivers and running backs. And if you're starting to see that these old vets are kind of, you know, trickling into those roles, there might be a place for you to kind of get ahead of their massive usage and then potentially be played against you. So that's all.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a couple of those guys who I've picked up. Kendrick Bourne is definitely one of them, but a couple different guys who have like just both offered points and also taken points away from other players. And like, the only thing I would say is like, I don't necessarily always have open bench spots, but I'm very comfortable with having like 5 guys that I can just rotate out. You know what I mean? And like, you have to be able to like set that like distinction and be like, all right, there's these 5 guys who are on my roster, but like I'll dump Sione Vaki anytime. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, or like any of those kind of players. It's just like, you just got to be okay with it and not get hung up on these guys. Cause that is, I think that's the point of like what Tommy is talking about when he talks about that, is like, you get these guys on your roster and then you get some connection to them. And then it's hard for you to drop them over picking up players like Jake's talking about that are both beneficial to play defense with against your opponents, or potentially just have that to pick up, you know, that player and put in your roster, a la Kendrick Bourne this past week or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do it in redraft all the time, or at least I did. Like, there'd always be 2 guys that like you're not starting every week, but like they're scoring some points, but you could easily just move on from them because you don't really care. I think since we play Dynasty, we're like, we have that more of an attachment to those players. You gotta let that shit go a little bit. All right, before we move on to the next topic, I do want to shout out your 2020-25 RB1 on the year, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
Is he really? I didn't even notice that.
So, yeah, I believe
so. No, you think so? Okay, just
in what format?
I think
let's
yards,
check on that.
Right?
Okay,
touchdowns. Touchdowns.
Are you saying just random stats with a question mark after that?
It's got to be close.
I got to see where he's at with that.
Rookie RB1.
Oh, rookie.
Yeah.
Oh,
2020.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Not like
absolutely.
He's not JT. Like, come on.
Yeah,
no, probably.
I was so
he
confused.
probably
I was
is. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it might be
I think
close with him and Genty, but it's I mean, Genty had a big week too. He had like a 35-point week, but Merritt probably has enough to beat him out there. But anyway, yeah. Shout out. You definitely came through on that one. You're right. That one is definitely hit bigger. It's like it is a Puka-ish level hit in terms of running backs. Like, it's probably won't be as long term, but it's a it's definitely a Puka-ish level hit for
It'd
sure.
be a good year.
I like it. Yeah.
That's probably what we're in for. But yeah, I mean, during the Discord, we're talking Sunday. I wanted to give Jake a platform if you wanted to. Talk about the pros and cons of public transit. If not, we can move on to the next topic.
Let's move on. No one wants to hear me talk about that.
Love you, Jake.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
I appreciate that.
Hop in the Discord if you want to hear Jake's thoughts on such matters.
DM me if you need. We can go off.
Good Lord.
All right. So yeah, it looks here we have some first read target share data, probably brought to you by no other than Billy Beeman.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Good shout. I don't know. Jake could have done this, but
I'm just guessing.
You could have done this. Anybody could have done this, but you knew it wasn't you. But okay, so yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about first read target share a little bit. Like, I think it's a lot more of a descriptive stat than it is like predictive, really. Even though I think, like, especially at the upper echelon of it, like, it is pretty, like, those guys are going to continue to get those kind of target shares and those kind of looks and be super effective. But in general, like, if people don't, I mean, it's super intuitive, right? Like, if you are being schemed up or you are the first look from the quarterback, you are both going to produce a lot of fantasy points, and you also are clearly very involved in the offense for some reason. Maybe you're super talented. Maybe there's nobody left on the team. Who knows, right? There could be reasons. Usually it's the former, where it's like you're talented for some reason or they're trying to scheme you up, right? And so just a couple of numbers. Shout out Ryan Heath. I mean, he's really the one who did most of the work on this, but just a couple of things just to kind of point out why it's even important at all. But 5.1% of first read throws result in touchdowns compared to just 3.5% of all other throws, right? So first read results in scoring 45% more often. So it's just super important in terms of understanding like which players are being designed, schemed up, whatever it is, or really just this good. And so I want to just go through some guys. I mean, I didn't really want to talk about the guys at the tippy top, even though there are some like crazy numbers worth discussing. But I mean, talking about guys like JSN, right? 42.1 on the season, first read target share. So, almost half the time he's being targeted and looked at the first read on the play. So, I mean, it's no shock with guys like that. With Puka, those guys are up at the top there. But we have some other guys who I just wanted to point out, talk through, just maybe, why we're seeing these numbers, if they're going to stick, if they're not going to stick, if they're on the way up, on the way down. Just kind of depends on the situation, right? They're all kind of different. But let's just jump into it. We don't need to spend a ton of time on all of these, but let's go through it. All right, 33.8% for Olave. I'm kind of sticking. For the players who I think are heading in the right direction, or in a positive direction, I should say. I'm looking more at like above 25%, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking a little bit, still it's not bad around the 20% mark and whatnot, but below that, it's kind of where you don't want to be in terms of like a positive indicator, right, of any sort. So that's where we're at here. But at the kind of high level of what we're going to be talking about today, 33.8% for Olave. Is that just because, he is the best receiver they have on that team? I mean, I think it's interesting because I do think Rashid Shaheed is not a Rashid Shaheed. I don't know if I said that right the first time, but he's, not a superstar or anything like that, but he is a good player, right? And there's also Juwan Johnson on this team. So it's not like they're, no talent on this team. I do think 33.8 is pretty high. We know that Olave is pretty good. The concerns are mainly health. Like, I don't know. Any thoughts on Olave here?
It probably just has to do with the type of receiver he is. Not super film bro here, but like what routes he's running. Like Rashid Shaheed's not running like your, flats and your cross. Like, he's a deep threat, right? So that's typically not going to be your first read. Like, you're going to be trying to move the chains. You want to move the chains. You want to give it to Olave and, hopefully not have him get hit over the middle. Just kind of the talent. Like, that's not a very good wide receiver core. Like, your second best option on the team is Juwan Johnson. And then you have Shaheed as a deep threat. So it's kind of Olave that's there. And I think the same thing would be for like JSN, although JSN is a very good receiver. But it's not like there's a really good, viable second read that could be your first read more often than he is your second read. Like it's very clearly JSN and then everybody else. I think the same thing goes with Olave here.
No thoughts, Jake, or I don't know.
No, I don't think there's anything else to add.
I just
I think
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I think that's the definition of what's going on there.
Sweet.
It's actually a good. I do think it's a good read on it. You're right. I do think so. Okay, so let's move on here. I thought this is worth mentioning just because of all the AJ Brown issues, nonsense, whatever we want to call it. But he's seen a 33% first read target share. Not just, that's a really high first read target share for sure. And so is Devonta, 27.7. Is this just because those are the only two guys really? But like they aren't, right? I mean, Goddard is there too. He's, I guess, not a first read though in most scenarios, but I just feel like if we're thinking about this team and what AJ Brown kind of wants out of his role, it does feel like at the very least Smith is encroaching on it a little bit, right? Like in terms of, you know, getting the looks in those situations. If you're the first read, obviously you're kind of, you know, in those high stress situations, it seems like they're looking at both these guys.
I think their biggest issue is just the number of times they're throwing the ball, right? Like Jalen Hurts has only thrown over 30 attempts in 2 games so far. That was week 3 and week 5. Outside of that, both or the other 3 games were under 25 attempts. You're just like, you're talking about statistics, right? So
they're 7th lowest in the league in attempts. Yeah.
They're working in an offense that is successful. And this is one of the worst parts about being an athlete in a team sport, is that you are a competitor and you want to win games, but you also are a competitor and you want to be the one to win games, if you know what I mean. So like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
It's especially wide receivers.
Yeah, exactly. Especially wide receivers. Like they're the ones who want to be making the most amount of impact. And unlike running backs, they don't get the, I don't want to call it easy opportunity, but almost the forced opportunities where the ball is literally shoved into their hands to then make an impact. They have to do a little bit of additional work before the ball gets into their hands. And so I'm sure it does feel pretty thankless until it actually occurs. And so when you're in an offense like this, it's going to be really, really challenging to keep both of them happy. And they're actually, supposedly, rumors have it, both upset, which makes it even better.
Yeah,
they're both upset.
It's a pretty amazing situation.
But only one was invited to the teammate meeting.
True.
AJ Brown. It was AJ Brown, Saquon, and Hurts. How do you not invite Devontae?
Does he not wear a C on his chest? Was it a captain?
Oh, maybe. Well, I mean, they can't.
That might
3
have been
captains on offense. I don't know. Just
okay. They have multiple captains on both sides of the ball. Yeah,
I'm just saying that's not going to help with the whole Smith being happy thing.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
it's tough playing second.
Sorry,
by all means.
Sorry. Going back to Olave, I was just like looking at this and thinking about it. Like for the way he's utilized, there's not that many players ranked where he's ranked in Dynasty. Like he's kind of in a low area. Like it feels like kind of a low area for that. But there is some opportunity, I guess, if you wanted to get out of a player like this. It just feels like his Dynasty value is lower than it should be. But I guess it's really mostly those health concerns.
I think it's
and the team just
as well stinks. He has received 4 of his 5 games. He's had over 10 targets, right? But he hasn't broken 60 yards in a single game yet. So it's great and good to be targeted and potentially catch up to 10 balls. But if you're catching 55 yards on 10 catches, it's 15 points in PPR. Half PPR, you're fucking shit. You have no value in this game. And unfortunately, you're playing a game where these players need to be scoring points, and he's just not. So I kind of understand the concerns with his value.
That makes sense. Okay, let's move forward here. This one is where I think it gets interesting. 27.5% for Jake Ferguson. Now, with tight ends, if you want like a top tight end, you want them to be one of the first reads on the team, which there are not many, right? Especially, one of the top 2 targets on the team for sure. But when they're getting first read targets at this rate, it's pretty crazy. Like he's up there with like in the McBride level range, in the top tier tight end range. And I think Jake pointed out on here, which I had thought of immediately, is the CD dependent. And so I went and I looked through the first 3 weeks, and it was the same thing. Now it may be like same exact percentage, right? 27.5. So now it may just be that their CD and him are obviously the two best receivers on this team, right? Like I shouldn't say that. Sorry. They do have, depending on what you think of, what's his name? Why can't I think of his
Pickens.
name? George Pickens, right? But I do think, Jake Ferguson does feel like more of a first read type of player than Pickens does, going back to Uriah's point, and like Shaheed, right? He's more of a downfield guy. So in terms of the receivers, it does make sense that he would be kind of in that space. That said, this is a super high number for even a tight end, for even most players in general. So I just want to throw it out there. I've always kind of liked Jake Ferguson. Never thought he was like, the best ever or anything like that. But I mean, he's pretty damn good, and he is earning a ton of targets. And now without CD out, plus we know that he's going to have this role even when he's back. Yeah, it just I don't know. He's a young player. It just seems like it could be in general a positive indicator for his career. But we'll see. Any thoughts on that, Jake? Or we can go to the Dallas Cowboy here if we want.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he's tight end 1. Like, it's translating. It's not just he's a first read target share. He's also catching the ball. He's receiving the ball. He's scoring touchdowns. He's actually, I think one of the biggest concerns about Jake Ferguson is his run after the catch. He's shown that he's added that to his game a little bit as well. He's become significantly more dynamic in that offense. It isn't just, dump to Jake when needed, which I think is kind of what his role was a little bit earlier in his career. It's progressed. And I think kind of not against Uriah's thought process in the offseason, but I don't think you necessarily saw this kind of huge progression this year, because I think he was coming out of a contract year, or he was coming into a contract year. I don't remember. It was one of those, but he got paid this offseason, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was my concern based on history going back to anything we've had since Jason Witten. I just was unsure if we'd ever give another tight end another contract extension. That was always my concern. No concerns. Yeah. And I love that you guys looked at weeks 1 through 3 just to make sure that it wasn't just the CD effect. Like, Dak's looking for him in the seam all the time. So.
Yeah. And he's become clearly more dynamic. Like, he looks really good just in terms of athleticism, and just the way he's taking care of his body. It seems like he's doing the right thing. So Tommy here real quick, with wide receivers, it feels more like first read target share is earned, while tight ends can be more reliant on their QB's tendencies. Tight end still has to be good enough. No, I definitely think that that makes sense. They certainly are relying on the QB's tendencies sometimes. But at this rate with a tight end, and he's shown it consistently, it's early. We'll see what it looks like over the season, but I do think that that's pretty impressive. I mean, you do see some of, a lot of, I'm trying to think who it was, like TJ Hawkinson was around like 16, Travis Kelce was around like 17, 18, just thinking about other guys, who are kind of, top tight ends, and who also have QBs that typically would look for them, Also, Tommy here, do you guys factor this into shaky QB situations to try to sharpshoot tight end upside? In terms of the first read target share stuff, am I looking at like, okay, but I guess maybe let's put New Orleans, for example, right? Like, am I factoring it in there? Yeah, a little bit, I think, right? Like, Juwan Johnson does look good in this respect, like for tight ends, does look okay in this respect. But yeah, I mean, I would be looking at it to see if I can gain an edge there, but I don't know if it's like, again, I think it's a lot more descriptive. I don't know if it's telling you what's going to happen. It's like what's happening. But when you see things at a consistent rate at a high level, then I start, I'm like, okay. And is this also leading to the other things, right? Is it also like, okay, it's showing on the film, it's showing on the fantasy production, it's showing all over the place. Then it kind of, you piece it together. But any thoughts on Tommy's question there?
Nothing additional from me now.
No.
Okay, cool. Next one here, 27.3% first read target share for Ricky Pearsall. I mean, there's like we're talking about like, oh, is he just like the only one there? And like in some ways, yes, but in some ways you also have to think a lot of this community was really high on Juwan Johnson. So maybe not. Like if you're that person thinking that, right?
Juwan Jennings.
Juwan Jennings, sorry. Juwan Johnson. Yes, Juwan Jennings. And then obviously George Kittle's out. So that is certainly a factor, that he's going to be super high in this regard. May impact whoever the wide receiver one is on the team, but I imagine that it would be somewhere up in that range anyway. But then you have to think about Brandon Ayuk. Is he going to, impact that when he comes back, when and if he comes back, where it's a slow return for sure. So is this something that you expect to continue for Ricky Pearsall, or do you think that he'll take a back seat as time goes on and people get healthy?
I think you're playing the injury roulette game here. Like whoever is available is going to be, I think, the first read in this offense.
King. Yeah, first read King.
Like Kendrick Bourne was the first read target hawk last week. Like as crazy as it sounds, Pearsall comes back, it'll be him. If he's back and Juwan Jennings, they'll probably be slightly split with maybe Pearsall being slightly above. Ayuk comes back. I bet one of those two will be injured. With those two back, Kittle comes back. One of those two will probably then get injured as well. Like that's unfortunately just what's going to happen in San Francisco, I think, this year, and we just have to accept it.
Yeah, real quick, Kendrick Bourne and Jake Tongas both had 25% this week.
There you go.
This past week. It's just really, yeah. I mean, it is exactly
and Kendrick Bourne's going to do it again this week.
Yeah, kind of my point there is that I think, Ricky Pearsall's value is high enough where you could potentially sell off this and not be too concerned about things being altered as the season goes on, right? Like, I don't know if his role will continue to be consistent. And obviously he's injured, so that's a whole other piece of the puzzle, but I think he should be back this week or next. Regardless, point stands. Something to keep in mind there, even though, things may be looking up. I don't know if that's exactly what's happening. Okay. 28.4% first read target for T-Mac. Don't want to offend anybody here. For T-Mac, I think that's pretty damn good for a rookie. Definitely seems like wide receiver one stuff. I was listening to Feel It or Fuck It with Waldman, and he was talking about how Tet's not really running wide receiver one routes. They're scheming him up a lot, but he's still, I mean, it seems like he's wide receiver one, and I think he can develop. I don't know. Do you any concerns there to, I guess, not believe in both the first read target share and just everything kind of we've seen this season? He's been pretty consistent. Looked pretty good with the ball in his hands. I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on Tet?
Well, I mean, he's the highest drafted wide receiver on that team. I believe they're going to try to use him and try to get him going. I would expect, just given the room he came into, that this would be kind of what you'd hope to see. Sure, the projection's not quite there, and maybe according to Waldman, maybe he's not getting the full route tree treatment yet. But this is hopeful. This is kind of what you want to see. There's no way you're ever going to see if he's going to be a stud alpha wide receiver if you're not giving him 28% of your throws. He needs those. So again, I don't know if it's predictive or if he's earned it, but I think this is what you do with the young wide receiver that you take so high.
Yeah, I think as much as I really do like Waldman, I do think that he unfortunately kind of gets a little stuck into some of his biases. He's not a huge Tedero McMillan fan from the onset. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with scheming up players for success, especially if you know that maybe their adaptation to the offense might not be exactly what you want it to be. Maybe the additional weapons around him aren't what you want them to be, right? Like we're talking about a wide receiver room that was supposed to have Jalen Coker in it. That I'm not saying he's like some world beater, but Jatavian Sanders was also supposed to be there. He's been injured now for the last 2 weeks. Adam Thielen was in training camp with this team up until week 1 before the suspension and injuries happened to some of the Minnesota wide receivers, and they ended up trading for Adam Thielen. Like, I think that there's something here where you can kind of create this narrative to say the success that Tet has brought and shown, as well as demanding first read target share, is enough for me to be excited about what I'm looking at. To Wallman's point, I think that there is still definitely like a bit of a stink on Tetaroa based off of what I've seen. There's still something missing from the actual tape itself that doesn't necessarily show as much dominance as I think the statistical evidence and analytics can show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not necessarily like majorly concerned, but I'm not seeing the alignment yet. And I think that will come over time, but I think that there's probably some middle ground here that we can relay that, you know, he's demanding first reads. Maybe it's because Xavier Legette and Jimmy Horn Jr. and I don't even know who the fuck else they have.
Hunter Renfrow.
Hunter Renfrow. God, I forgot about Hunter Renfrow. You know, shout out to Hunter Renfrow. The fact that he's back after 2 years out of football and playing, you know, 60 to 70% snaps, like that's awesome. Like good for him. Mitchell Evans was another, you know, garbage time tight end touchdown guy that's like stealing looks. But anyway, the whole point is that there isn't a lot to compete against him. So like I understand that the narrative here is probably like, who else is Bryce going to throw it to? Like I get that, but at the same time, I do think that there's some work here that's being done by Tetaroa that should be showcased with this first read target share.
Yeah, I just want to say, number one, also, could they be scheming him up because the quarterback isn't that good? I don't know. Just a thought, because he can't just do it, you know, by the book. But also, Tet kind of looks smaller than I think people thought that he, like, just his frame is a little bit smaller, I think, than we all thought coming out of college. And I think he can grow into that frame quite a bit. And he's a young player still. So I think over time we might see some things change and some added weapons to his game, right? Some, you know, added skills to his arsenal. So I would not be surprised to see that over time. And the early showing is really good, in my opinion. Just want to throw this one out here. I don't think there's really much to say, but we got to give him a shout. 26.5% for Igbukah. Obviously, no Mike Evans, but there's other players on that team, and you earn this stuff, especially as wide receivers. And so he's looking great despite having, you know, a low separation score. We can move forward though. Okay. I wanted to mention here. Yeah, I wanted to mention here 22.1% first read target share for Tyler Warren. There are plenty of good players on that team. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman's no slouch. And this is up at the higher range for the tight ends right now. Surprisingly, Mark Andrews is still in this area, but it's you know, definitely approaching you know, that 27.5%. It's not quite there, but he's moving in the right direction as a rookie. That's pretty impressive. So worth mentioning Warren.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, out of all the guys we talked about, like they've all kind of made sense in a way. Like this one is one I think actually sticks out, just based on there's talent there. The team is rolling right now, and for a rookie tight end to come in, 22.1% first read target share, that I think stands out above any of the guys we talked about previous.
The one thing I'll add as well is that one of the best things that Tyler Warren had going for him was coming in as a rookie. He had the early rookie camp with Daniel Jones. Josh Downs ended up getting injured during the offseason, didn't train as much. Michael Pittman was also injured during the offseason during training camp. So he had a shit ton of time with Daniel Jones, and that relationship was really shown in preseason. We got like a pretty good understanding of their relationship, their timing. There were a ton of promo videos and PR videos from the Colts about these two basically scissoring on the field. And, you know, I think that there's something there. Like, I do think that like when those relationships are made from the onset, like we should buy into it. And it's funny because like I was very much like openly admitting to the fact that Tyler Warren was my tight end 3 in this draft class. But I do think that sometimes opportunity can overshine or shine over sometimes the skill set of a player. And I think that this is a really great opportunity where you can say to yourself, like, Tyler Warren is, maybe he has weaknesses, but this is a great opportunity for him to basically be a showcase piece in the offense.
All I can think of is the scissoring. on the field. Jesus Christ. That's the only image I'm left with after all that. Okay.
Sorry, I meant synergy. Why did I say scissor?
You said scissoring on the field. What are you talking about? You
I know,
meant
I'm fucking with you.
Okay, I was like, get the fuck out of here. Oh my god. Okay, I'll hit some of these YouTube comments in a minute when we're done with this segment, but let's keep it cooking. All right. Let's hit this Chargers wide receiver room. And honestly, actually, we're going to hit one of these questions right after this because it's talking about one of these wide receivers, so it works. Okay, 26.4% first read target share for Quentin Johnston, 22.5% for Ladd McConkey, 24% for Keenan Allen. That is a even distribution, if you ask me. It's pretty surprising, obviously, with the QJ portion of it. I think people probably thought you would see Ladd more at like the 30 range or something like that. Maybe Keenan probably in a similar range, and then QJ kind of more in that Shaheed area, right? Like that kind of deal. But that's not what we're seeing here. So very interesting. I don't know if it's going to change that much over time if these players stay consistent. If they don't, then maybe things change a little bit more. I'm just not sure. I think they like how they're playing here. I think they want to push the ball downfield a little bit. I think they I just think the way that they're playing suits kind of all these players, and they're all going to kind of get targets if healthy. So, Jake, what are your thoughts on this? Because I know that you had some expectations just from an anecdotal perspective, and then I think the numbers kind of lined up. So, what do you think?
Yeah, no, well, I'll talk about it in my quick film catch up. But basically, one of the big things that I noticed from Ladd was really just nothing has changed. Like, he very much looks like the same dominant receiver. It's really more so about where he's lining up, significantly less in the slot. He's sharing a lot of his slot time with Keenan Allen. And I think this is one of those situations where we don't really know what the future is going to be, because the next 4 weeks, I think this offense is going to change significantly. Like, not being able to rely on a steady running back in a Marion Hampton, and maybe they didn't even quote unquote rely on him, but they relied on the touches at bare minimum, is really going to change the way in which I think these three wide receivers are going to be used. So we might start seeing a little bit more of like a scat back almost approach to some of the usage of someone like Ladd McConkey or even Keenan Allen. We've seen that in the past where he'll like break out and play almost like a shallow halfback and catch screens and then see like what they can do with it. He probably doesn't have the athleticism anymore to do that. He does look a little bit slower. No offense to him. But that is kind of the space that I see this. Yeah, I know. Like, the worst part is I looked him up and like we're the same age, and it's like, god damn, like that's probably
you get why he's slower. You get why he's slower. Yes, I understand. Oh wow.
Yeah, I was doing some sprints the other day, and they ain't the same. Anyway, yeah, I think that's kind of where I see it. I think we'll probably see, give or take, the same usage and first read target share. The usage will just be slightly different. It'll come in different packages, but we just don't get the opportunity from the running backs.
Any thoughts, Uriah?
Shout out QJ.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to say is that it's possible that Ladd picks up over time because Keenan won't always be there, and Keenan is certainly impacting him significantly because of the chemistry he has with Herbert. So we know that Keenan could, tear his hamstring and be out for the rest of the season, and things could change from that regard. Also, we know he's not going to be there that long in terms of years. Like, he may be there for this year and next, if that, right? Like, it's probably unlikely he's there anywhere past that, and maybe even not next year. Who knows? So things definitely can shift for the better for Ladd, but I think if they had it their way, and I think you could see they were trying to do that this year in the draft too, they would have three options that they could really rotate through in the receiving game. Three really good options. I think that's what they were looking for with Trey Harris, and it didn't really pan out thus far. Question here, kind of related. Got Slashy here in the YouTube comments. What's up, brother? What's up, boys? Just traded away JT for Ladd and Tesla. Jonathan Taylor for Ladd and Tesla on a team where I got hit bad with injuries, and I'm retooling to focus on next season. Thoughts on the deal? I don't hate it. I think it's fine. I probably would have been looking for like a pick instead of Tesla personally, but like, I'm not going to quibble really over the throw in on this, I guess. I think this is fine to do. You're probably going to win in the long term. from the value perspective of Ladd McConkey. Any disagreements, thoughts?
No, I mean, I tend to agree. We always say you probably could have got a little bit more. I
That's
think
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
No, I do like Tesla. Like, he's a fun player, but I think if you're retooling and stuff, like, I don't know. I still have trouble thinking that he's going to be an every week player for you. So I think if you're retooling your team, that like I might try to look for a pick there, just especially like just how many points Jonathan Taylor is bringing to the team at this point in time. Like that's worth, I think, a little extra just in general, just given that people now it's week 5, going on week 6. People are starting to look like, okay, I need these points to make it to the playoffs and make a run in the playoffs. And I think JT provides that in spades. So love buying low on McConkey, but I think at the Tesla part, I might have thought of something else.
Yeah. Add a third to that deal, maybe change the Tesla to a second. I'm liking it a lot more.
Something like that.
From that perspective, but still think it's a solid deal. Where was Anthony Richardson during that time? I think that's a reference to the scissor. No, I'm kidding. It's a reference to the camp time when when Daniel Jones had with Warren. But shout out Gordo. Okay, let's move on here real quick. Two more. 46.7% first read target share for Stephon Diggs in week 5. In just week 5, okay? And I did look back, week 1 through 4 was 20.7%. Now, like, you could attribute this just to him being back in Buffalo and them just wanting him to, have his homecoming in his game or whatever. So I think there's some of that, but I also do think this could be him getting ramped up after that injury, right? He wasn't going to just hit the ground running in week 1 or 2 off an ACL. He also came back early. So I definitely think he could, be improving here. And also I think him and May maybe building some chemistry. So short of an injury, which totally could happen, I do think that we're going to see this tick up on a more regular basis and him probably be a little bit more consistent. So, totally can sell him off of this game. He's old enough. If you're a rebuilder, for sure, sell him. But I also think if you're a contender, you might be able to rely on this kind of player, again, aside from injury for the rest of the year. So pretty interesting to see that. Any thoughts on that big jump?
I would say go check out an article. You could probably just Google search 4 for 4. They did an article on revenge games and if they're actually real. Cliff notes, they're real.
Oh, for sure. I totally believe that. Human emotion is such a big part of sports in general. Definitely football, maybe more than most, just with all that goes on throughout the games and how psychological it can be. But yeah, like it's totally, if you're coming back to a place and you have the emotion, I mean, if you saw how locked in, you see all the videos of Diggs in that game and you're just like, you can tell the adrenaline is just pumping at a different level than most games. And honestly, but it's early in the season that also can ignite the rest of his season and, the team in general. So it's a big one. It's very interesting to see. That's a huge jump. Is over a 50% jump from the first 4 weeks. So something to keep an eye on. Really quick here on the low side. On the low side, something just to mention here, and Jake, feel free to hop in. I'm just going to throw these guys out if you have any thoughts. On the low side of things, under 20%, 17.7% for Tucker Kraft. For a guy that, like, we want to be one of those top tight ends, this is going to need to tick up a little bit more, even so that that he's kind of one of the top 2 targets, but you want him kind of, I think, up in a higher range. Really to be a more consistent player over the long haul. Just my thoughts on that. But again, like Tommy was saying, it could be team tendency, and we know that Green Bay is just kind of what they are. They're going to spread the ball. Okay, under 16%. Kyle Pitts, thought that was kind of interesting just given the structure of that team. DJ Moore, not super surprising. And then a couple rookies here, Matthew Golden and Travis Hunter. Under 16% first read target share. Any thoughts on any of those guys before we move on?
Yeah, the only one I'll call out is Golden. I think with the way in which that team just exercises, prepares, watching Jordan Love, and I'm going to talk about him really quickly in a bit, I don't think that there's really such a thing as like a first read target share in that offense. Like The dude, he's a
there's no first read.
pivoter.
they're all the first read.
But like actually though, I'm pretty sure that's how the play calling is supposed to go. Like he gets out of his first read so fast. Like it's honestly insane. Like
it doesn't
no
even
one
matter
else
that you're
operates
first read.
like him.
Yeah.
And it really is pretty beautiful to watch. Like if you ever lock in just on him, I really do recommend it. All 22, just Jordan Love. And the dude's head is just swiveling. And I do think that he is, and like I said, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. If he didn't get hit by the injuries that he got hit by last year, I think we'd be talking about Jordan Love significantly differently. He's a very, very astute and intelligent quarterback, and I think he has a lot to provide in this game. It's just unfortunate that I think it doesn't matter who the wide receivers are. They could be incredibly talented unless they have that, like what Uriah was talking about, that wide receiver personality. No one's going to demand that target share in this offense because that's, I think, what they want. They want just like a bunch of bees.
The coach has said it himself.
Bunch of betas. Bunch of betas. Okay.
I don't know how many years this is now that we've been doing this. Me, you, Billy, me, Billy, but we've talked about the Green Bay wide receiver room ever since I think, Romeo Doubs was a rookie or even before that. And we're just like,
before that, but yeah.
That's what they want to do there, man. It sucks for all of us who want like that dog, but there's just never going to be that dog there. And it works for them. They win games that way. So
that's the thing. Exactly. That's the thing that we as like fantasy players need to respect out of the team itself. It's like, it's okay to own Josh Jacobs. It's okay to own Jordan Love. Let's just move away from all the pass catchers because we just need to accept that it's too unpredictable in that space.
Yep.
And until there is that true alpha, we'll know it when we see it, but they haven't drafted it. They don't probably plan on drafting it. They probably don't plan on signing it. So let's just look the other way. They signed Micah Parsons to that massive contract. They moved away from Jair Alexander. They very much know how they're managing their team. It's very intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you for indulging me, leaving remarks here. Slashy, Diggs was in May's ear all week demanding the ball. Yeah, I mean, he certainly was. He's like, we will make these fools look stupid. Absolutely. Yeah, give me the ball. Yeah, 100%. Okay, cool. Just I thought it was interesting to look at the first read target share. I'd like to dig in there and see if anybody sticks out from a good or bad perspective. Anybody's kind of highlighting, and I think some of those are worth thinking about. Some of those situations are worth thinking about. So again, thanks for indulging me on that. Jake, let's jump into some quick film catch up since you were away abroad for a couple weeks. What do you got for us here, man? What did you see when you dug into the film when you got back?
Yeah, so I just picked I picked a few more, but I wanted to be cognizant of time. So I picked a few players that have, interesting profiles / the market seemed to either be really, really in on them or really, really off of them in certain windows, maybe even the windows now. And so really quickly, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, 2 quarterbacks. We got Rome Odunze, Ladd McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr. I'll be really fast here. I'll shout out a name. I'll give you the notes. You guys can provide feedback. And then I'm going to try and be quick.
I'm joking.
If you say words back to me, will I say words back to you? Maybe. But yeah, Jordan Love, like I said, maturation development that we want in year 2. It's happening right now. I very much see it. The pocket presence is there. The head swiveling is there. The feet movement is there. The literal movement in and out of the pocket is there. The pre-snap reads are there. The audibling is there. He's turning into what I think is going to probably be a top 7-8 quarterback in both the NFL and in a dynasty format. He is showing the point scoring already. The guy's very, very, very talented. Are you guys seeing the same thing? Do you guys think the same way? Where do you guys kind of stand with Jordan Love?
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, from a development perspective, I definitely agree with you. I think you're probably right where he sits, and he's probably going to sit on that lower back end of the top 10 because he just doesn't have the upside in terms of rushing. And also probably because he doesn't have the upside for fantasy purposes in terms of a wide receiver 1 who can dominate and score a ton of touchdowns, right? They might rely on the running game. They might rely on, schemed up stuff, and it might be more defense, lower scoring games. He doesn't need to do everything that all these other guys have to do necessarily, and that is how they want to play. So from that perspective, he's a little less appealing. But if you got in on him and you have him, like he's one of those guys where I think his market value does not match his potential and his production. So there's probably ways that you can get in on him, either moving up from like Jackson Dart type players and, you know, stuff like that with confidence. So yeah, I'm definitely in on the love hype here. Yeah.
He's a little bakery in that regard, right? He's got like the strong, he's not the same type of player. I just mean like from a value perspective, I think Baker gets suppressed pretty significantly, even though like I think right now he's I think he's QB3 in the NFL. Yeah, I know Lamar has been out. Yeah, I know Jane Daniels been out. I get it, but like regardless, anyway. Caleb Williams. Yeah. This is probably the more controversial of the two, but I watched him week 1, and then I unfortunately left immediately after. I think it was like the Tuesday after week 1 ended. So I saw how uncomfortable he looked in week 1. I would say in weeks 3 and 4 specifically, we were talking about, I think it was against Dallas and I don't remember the second game. But
I don't remember.
He still has his personality, which I really kind of love. Like he plays with a very like unique Caleb Williams personality that very much shows, even though he looks more structured. So that's the thing that I really want to talk about. He looks significantly more structured. He looks more refined based off of the work that it looks like Ben Johnson and the offensive team have kind of pushed into him, mainly in his platform. I think what I noticed a lot prior, and not just in week 1, but also going back into his rookie year, is that when he would throw the ball, it was almost, this is going to be fucked up, but like ballerina-esque. Very much like on the toes, and not enough with like a strong pivot and push off of the front end back foot. You're getting that dig significantly more, which is giving him a lot more loft on his throws. So there were a bunch of perfectly thrown zone passes that he had against Dallas where he just threw them directly in between basically the 2 layers. So if we're talking about the safety layer and the cornerback layer, he's throwing it between both those layers perfectly. One of the other things I've also noticed off of him is he's reading his wide receiver's body language way faster. One of the things that you notice a lot in his rookie tape, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, fucking calling, I'm wide open, doesn't see him because he's already running outside the pocket, running around another defensive tackle, another defensive end.
Keeping the eyes downfield.
He hasn't been doing that in the 2 weeks that I was watching, in both weeks 3 and 4. They were on bye week 5, so I got a little bit lucky here. So no regression to the notes that I'm providing. And then lastly, I did want to just add that it does seem like his first tendency isn't as much of I need to create a play every single play. And that is the one thing that I've really liked from the progression, is like he's not losing his athleticism. He's just very much more dialed into what his role is on an individual given play. If the play ends up falling in or failing, where like the offensive line or a pressure will come in from a specific side, he'll push from it in a much more logical way than before. He was just kind of like spontaneously running and just kind of feeling the pressure. That doesn't very much feel like the case anymore. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I tend to agree from the standpoint of his platform. Like, I think it's super noticeable that, you know, in years past, he's running and jumping when he's throwing the ball half the time, or off his back foot, or those kind of things. And there's a way to obviously run and throw the ball. And he's certainly doing that more, but you honestly see him more often setting his feet and getting the ball out. He certainly has made some really incredible throws on the run. We've seen them sideline throws and whatnot, but he just seems a lot more dialed in, a lot more accurate. He seems like he's really seeing things a little bit better. I know that everybody was super concerned the first few weeks of the season with what it looked like. We talked about that DU1 trade that went down. That was just like apocalyptic for, you know, what we knew Caleb's value probably was. And I don't think we're surprised to see him kind of bouncing back here a little bit, but I absolutely do agree that, you know, it's clear that there's a change based on this coaching staff with him. Like he's much more refined is a good word for it, but it seems like he's playing slower, but I don't think that's what it is. I think the game is a little bit slower and he's able to play faster within that framework. So it looks good so far. Hopefully it continues in that direction.
Yeah, putting up 40 against Dallas probably really builds a lot of confidence.
It does. You're right. It does. But other quarterbacks lost their job the following week, so
Correct.
that's yeah.
No,
Anyway, I won't cry about it. Yeah, me too. I'll be quick on the wide receivers because I don't actually have a lot to add. I have Rome Odunze, Lab McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr. The biggest thing on all of them is going to be I don't think a lot has changed between year 1 and year 2. I don't think that there's this massive regression that a lot of people are talking about, specifically around Lab McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. But I will say about Brian Thomas Jr., this is going to sound very Grudenism. You got to keep your head in the game. I don't think his head is there at all. I think the dude is just completely fucking checked out, to be completely honest. I just don't think the mentality is there. I don't
This
think...
is BTJ? This is BTJ?
Correct. This is Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the concentration is there. His hands are slower than they were his rookie year. His movement in the actual cuts significantly slower. But the actual performance itself, like the athleticism, it's all the same. His understanding of the actual packages and routes that he's supposed to be running, they look fine. He's creating the same separation, in my opinion. It's just, he's just not there mentally. And it's visible. Like, it's just fucking sad. Like, you can't change that. And so as a dynasty owner, I'm scared shitless. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, this is the PSA, I think, of the entire episode. Like, I am scared of Brian Thomas Jr. because of Brian Thomas Jr. Not because of anything else, not because of Shane Waldron, but because there is a player there that I don't know if he is willing to make the appropriate sacrifices to wanting to be the better player. And that's my concern.
That's interesting. I do wonder, because I know he's potentially going through a lot personally, if that's what's impacting him this year. Because, like, why would this happen? Like, it doesn't we haven't heard anything in terms of work ethic and stuff like that. So, I mean, if that comes out, then maybe that's what it is. But I wonder if he's got a lot going on, you know what I mean? And that's why his head's not quite in the game. So maybe over time that shifts, and it's not like more about like who he is as a player. Like, I don't want to, get into too much of that or anything with that. But anyway, just a thought. Yeah.
I think that's a really fantastic rebuttal. It's just one of those things, because we talk about mental health in the game, but we also talk about player character as well. So I'll take the other extreme because I don't know where he falls in that. If this is a player character issue, I do think that we should be concerned. If this is a mental health related thing and he can work through this and, approach therapy and approach appropriate resources that can get him to the right place, then fantastic. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a fantastic wide receiver in the NFL. But if it's the former, it's a scary situation moving forward.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like I want to give the benefit of the doubt on that one. So, okay, that's a tough one, and that sucks. Tommy seems to agree with your assessment. He says, "Preach, Jake." So, I think in terms of at least what you're seeing on the field, sounds like you're right. He's just head's not in the game right now. So, unfortunate. Let's keep it pushing on these guys.
Cool. I think that's it on the players.
You went through all those guys already? Oh my goodness. I guess we did talk about Lad and whatnot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We talked about Lad and then the Rome situation. The only thing I'll add there, just because you called it out, I think he's going to be a fantasy consistent wide receiver. I just don't think that you're ever going to see like the massive spike weeks from him. I just don't think that's who he ever was. There is a reason why he was for a lot of people, wide receiver 3 in his class behind Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. That's just not really his game. Like, I think he's going to be like a perfectly steady, somewhere probably around the 17 to 20 point per game type of wide receiver, which is really good if that's actually what the average ends up being. But I'm talking about that's going to be like his spike week. So that's a little concerning in the grand scheme of things, but all in all, I do like what I saw from him. I think he's doing a lot of what he did last year. And it also seems like he's taking on a little bit more responsibility in the pre-snap communication in the pocket. You're seeing him more vocal. You're seeing just kind of a lot more interaction. DJ Moore is a little less vocal, which has been interesting, but regardless, that's not important.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we can move it forward.
Cool. I will be really quick here, I promise. But you guys talked about I think it was week 2, a trade between Dale and myself. And I really wanted to quickly cover this just because I think it was really unique and I liked the way that you guys broke down the trade. But basically, I traded away Ashton Janty and George Pickens for Dale's 27 firsts, Baker Mayfield in 2 seconds, just to make it easier. And what I really wanted to talk about is that this was an orphan, right? This was a league I came into thinking I could make a pretty drastic change to the league. I immediately traded for CeeDee Lamb. I traded, I think it was Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins for CeeDee Lamb and like 2/3 or something like that. What I thought was going to happen was a cascading move of quarterbacks throughout the league, because one of the things that I noticed coming into the league was that the quarterback space was kind of fucked, right? Most teams were sitting there with either 2 to 3 quarterbacks, we'll say, for the most part. And the equilibrium was a little bit off. Personally, I wasn't a big Trevor Lawrence fan. I had Justin Herbert. So I figured, how can I impact the league the most? I move a quarterback. That'll move other quarterbacks, right? Well, guess what? I made other quarterback changes or trades, and nothing happened. No one accepted any of them. So I just really want to quickly talk about some of the team dynamics and why this trade occurred. Team 1, Jackson Dart, Caleb Williams, Drake May. Pretty good quarterback room, but I didn't want to get in on Dart, and that owner didn't want to trade out of Dart. And getting into May and Caleb was basically impossible. They were also not a contender. They were a rebuilder, and we're not willing to work with the other rebuilder. Next, we got Nix and Purdy, and I say bones because the rest of the room is fucking trash. They weren't willing to move Nix or Purdy. Next,
I was really wondering if there was a nickname for a quarterback that everybody was calling Bones, and I didn't know about it. I'm like,
Bag of bones.
I'm online all the time. How did I miss this? All right, continue.
Yeah, bag of bones. Yeah, then we got Lamar and a bag of bones. We then had Love, Lawrence, Rodgers. Clearly wasn't going to be able to work with this owner, as I already traded them. Lawrence, and then immediately after I traded them Lawrence, they were basically like, I don't want to contend. And I was like, fuck, if I would have known that, I would have gone for Love. But I didn't know that. So next one, Burrow Ward. Tried to get Burrow once he got injured. No dice because that guy's 0-5. Daniel Stroud, Jones, Stafford, Darnold. Probably the best quarterback room in the league. But unfortunately, it's a portfolio player who doesn't really make any trades. Every time I've tried to offer trades, they're just very much rejected. I tried to get into both Stroud and Darnold on this roster for significantly cheaper than this trade here. Did not. Next is Hurts, Prescott, Rattler. Clearly, the only one I wanted there was Dak Prescott. That was told to me no. Allen, Murray, Tua. I think we see where that room is going. There's only one quarterback there that's relatively redeemable, and that is Josh Allen. JJ McCarthy, Justin Fields, Bryce Young. I sent 0 offers to that room. Mahomes, Penix. That's where I ended up getting Mayfield from. As you can see what I did there. And then Goff, Geno. As you can see, the quarterback rooms were really difficult to maneuver through. And like I said, I thought I was being heady with my first trade. I'm moving the quarterback. I'm providing the value of what Trevor Lawrence is. It's basically 2 firsts for Trevor plus Higgins is a first. That's CeeDee Lamb. That's 3 firsts, right? Come on, guys. That's really good value. Everyone's down on Trevor Lawrence. I'm giving you good value here. Like, what can I do? And so I tried sending out firsts. Fucking nothing. So I had to try and get a little bit creative because I didn't want to find myself in a situation because I already had, I think it was 5 firsts at the time, to get stuck in a quarterback space that I couldn't move through. So I tried this with Bijan and I tried it with Janty. I was unfortunately successful with Janty. The overall trade idea was to get into Janty plus a quarterback plus a first, hoping that the quarterback was a little bit higher level than Mayfield. But then I think about Mayfield's warp impact. And I think for the value, if I can turn this team into a contender within probably the next 1.5 seasons, which I very much think I can, there's a chance here where I'm contending already with Herbert and Mayfield. So I'm losing out on the quote unquote value at the quarterback, but I'm gaining the points from this quarterback position in a position where, you know, for a lot of people who might not always remember, we have very much a fluid lineup roster configuration for the DU leagues where it's 1 quarterback, 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, 1 tight end, rest are flex, and then 1 super flex, 10 starting players. So running back for me can be a little bit more fluid. And that's what I was trying to do here. So I just wanted to give a little bit more context because I really liked the way that you guys broke it down, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about the why, because I think it's always really important to understand, like, there are always league dynamics that we should be trying to fuck with. And I failed miserably. And then I kind of had to lose a little bit of value here on this trade for me to then kind of get to where I need to be, I think, moving forward with this roster, even though I'm quote unquote probably losing a first or a half of a, maybe like an extra second or something on this trade is probably what I'm losing. But you know what? It's neither here nor there. And I couldn't predict the CD Lamb injury, which unfortunately helped George Pickens the next couple of weeks, but we move. But anyway, that's all I wanted to add.
It's good context. It's really good context. It was a fun trade. Good stuff. All right, that leads us right into Dynasty Trades. So let's kick it.
Cool. Just from a non-DU league, we had Malik Neighbors go for 26 fourth, 4 Ibuka, Matthew Golden, and 26 second. Whoever lost Neighbors, assuming they're trying to compete, I think this is pretty good value for them to go out and get Ibuka, who I believe in, even though he can't separate for whatever reason that happens to be. It doesn't seem to matter one bit when you hear what Baker Mayfield had to say from him from like 6 months ago, leading up till what you're seeing on the field every single week that he's out there. So I like this trade for a guy that needs the points, has to get off Neighbors. Can't afford to wait to see him rehab or not.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I love Ibuka, like I really do. I don't love Golden, and I really think Neighbors will be okay. I would have like anything I'm doing like long term, obviously, and I get if you're trying to compete, like you got to figure out things to do, but like I just would always be looking to like move over to a healthy wide receiver 1 through 4-ish, 5-ish, whatever. Like, can I move Neighbors and get into Jefferson, Chase, maybe even CD? Like CD is going to come back, right? So it's like that's a fragile asset who's similar, and it's like I would just, even if I got to pay something, honestly,
you're
like
pay something. So this is a way to do it without having,
I get it, but it's like, are you getting back what you're giving up? Like, and I don't know over time. Like, Ibuka is a great asset, but like, I don't think he's going to be giving you consistent 25-point games, and nobody's giving you consistent 25-point games. But Malik Neighbors is doing it on a much higher clip, more towards consistent, and also he can reach like 38. You know what I mean, or 40. Like he really can, and like maybe on the off chance nobody's around and he's just busted coverage, like you're going to find Ibuka hitting that, but I think he's more of like a 15 to 20 point player, and which is amazing, but I don't know if Golden is even that. And then the second is a toss up. And so, yeah, it concerns me. It just concerns me a little bit, but I will
say the second is the 201. Just to add,
that's fair.
Like, it's for sure.
It is
for sure the no.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just providing context. Like it's not just a random
it's fair.
Second. It is truly the 201. The team is decimated. That's why they wanted Neighbors as well. But yeah,
cool.
Okay.
Another one. Woody Marks for Stafford and Ollie Gordon. Yeah, it's great to move off of a rookie running back who had a promising week. For a starting quarterback, assuming this is super flex. So I think it's a good, I mean, even if you broke down Stafford and all the picks, like that's still going to be, I think, plus for what you're getting back on for selling Marks. So I think it's a good way to get on Marks.
I totally agree. I actually think this is basically Stafford plus a similar player to Woody Marks, right? Like he's he might not be as talented and might not get the opportunity this early, but like I think you could definitely see him, in the right situation where the starter goes down, all of a sudden he hits a 20-point game or two, and now you're selling him for a second or two, just like you did Woody Marks. So this is getting, a starting quarterback who you could easily move or use. So I dig it. That was Jake's trade, so he probably doesn't have anything to add to it. Okay. He got the Stafford Gordon side.
Perfect. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. Console Wars. 2 seconds for Woody Marks. I think this was Billy's trade. Again, same thing. You drafted Woody Marks, in the 3rd or 4th, whatever. Like, this is just getting 4th, out. This is just getting return on investment, and at a good clip, and at a good time too, because I probably went down before Sunday, when everyone was disappointed in becoming the mark.
Well done. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, no, this is if I was willing to sell it for, Stafford and Gordon, I think 2 seconds is probably just better than that, quote unquote, in value. Yeah, this is great, especially on I think a team that's supposed to be rebuilding.
It has to be now.
Yeah,
I have no choice.
I didn't want to put you in that bubble, but yeah.
No, I fucked myself on this team, and then also they all got injured too, all the good players. So yes, this team must rebuild.
So shed points wherever you can and maximize off value, and that's the way to do it. Great work.
Yes.
All right. Next one. It's mine. DU4. I traded my 26 first for CMC. The offer was, hey, is this something you're interested in? I had just lost Malik Neighbors. Obviously, I got a bunch of offers for this and that for Neighbors. Me having to give up future draft capital to get a similar replacement player or whatever. It's like, I think I could replace Neighbors' points and buy more than, and just give up a singular 26 first and just see what happens. Hope he stays healthy. If not, it is what it is, and let's roll. So that's what I did. That 26 first should if the league ended today, will be 111, 112. So
yeah, definitely. I see the vision. The manager offered me CMC for AJ Brown as well. Before you accepted that trade, I was kind of thinking, I was like, yeah, maybe like my team is kind of teetering on contender, and I'm like, this might do it, but like I'd probably regret it long term, and it could blow up in my face. So I didn't do it. I think you got it probably at a good price. If your team continues the way it's going, you probably won't regret it. Pray for no injury.
Yeah.
It's more than I would pay personally. Like, and I would probably have like forced a fourth or a third back or something if I could, just to like mitigate my risk. Right. But again, if this helps you get to the championship or get near a championship, I think, it won't be something you really regret. Jake, thoughts?
Yeah, it felt pretty cheap considering CMC's performances going into it. Like, I feel like the way that the market works, we like remove all concern from value if players are performing in their smallest of windows. And so like I'm all for doing something like this. I am just, I think, a little bit more risk averse to players like CMC, even though he is scoring. I very much personally would probably like, I don't know. It's interesting. I guess the way that I see it is that I would much rather replace Malik Neighbors with an asset that I wouldn't be as concerned with and would be able to then have that same return moving forward. I think the first is basically a wash. And if CMC goes down, you're going to be trying to replace Malik Neighbors and Christian McCaffrey moving forward. So like, that's my only concern from like a roster construction perspective. But I think from like a deal making perspective, this one makes sense.
Cool.
Like, yeah. I'm already looking at the database. Like, he's worth more than that already. Like, you're talking about a first plus, so you could realistically sell out of McCaffrey and make a profit if you really wanted to, and move away from that. I know that's not what you're going to do. I'm just saying.
CMC was doubling basically what Neighbors was giving me for most of his healthy weeks anyway, outside of one. So I was like, I probably won't have him all year, but if I do, I think this is going to work out very, very, very good for me. So, anything else?
I had something else to say there, but it'll come back to me in a second. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. The manager that was selling CMC, he typically will get out at a very, very reasonable cost. Like if he's going to start selling players, or if he's going to go into the selling route, or if he doesn't like a player, but more so this wasn't not liking a player. This was like, I want to get out of a player because I'm heading into the rebuilding side of things. He's going to do it fast, and he's going to do it for like as soon as the value meets his like acceptance criteria, it's boom. So like when that manager is looking to shop players, he's somebody you want to get to quickly and get to with a fair offer. I've noticed if you go under market, like too under market, you know what I mean? Where it's like really not reasonable, but like, you think it kind of could look reasonable to somebody, he's going to know that. He's just going to be like, nah. But if it's like just under market or right at market, he's going to fucking accept that thing every time. So it's like he's somebody who you can quickly get a deal done with and not spend too much on that deal. So just something to think about for those in the DU leagues. Yeah, quick. I know you like. Yeah, and that's Uriah's favorite kind of trade partner. So worth knowing if you're in the DU leagues. He's in a couple of them, so you could peep that. I'm not going to shout the name. Don't want to give it away, but there you go. Just a little tip. Okay, last one here, or I don't even know. Is this the last one? What's this? The Dynasty Daddy link.
It's just a trade from Twitter, but I think it's just a good conversational piece really quickly about Travis Hunter.
Oh, all right. Well, hold on 1 second. Okay. DU2, Josh Jacobs goes for DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, 26 second, and a third. I think a 26 third as well. Thoughts?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not giving my feedback again.
I am assuming the guy that has Jacobs doesn't need running back help, but needs some wide receiver help. So sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, something like that is more so the person with Josh Jacobs is kind of more heading towards a rebuild and wants to collect value more so than anything. Yeah, he's in the midst of a rebuild and he is trying to collect value. So this was really like, I don't want Jacobs. I don't want his points. I do want players who I think are going to increase in value. I think his value is basically 2 seconds of first in the second, no, like a first in the second probably. And I think this, if done right, is kind of equivalent to that. So, I do have some work to do here. But it's kind of what I've been doing with this team is like shifting value around, slowly collecting future picks, slowly moving players, collecting more future picks, and just trying to gain that incremental upside or the incremental value, I should say.
You're trying to rebuild and out tank me?
A little bit, yeah. We both headed in at the same time, unfortunately.
Attitude and effort, baby.
All right.
All right. You want to hit this last one, Jake? Or anybody want to hit this?
Super quickly. It's just a Twitter trade. Basically, someone posted their own trade, kind of like what Billy talked about a few weeks ago, where someone posted his trade and then got smashed in the comments. This person also kind of got smashed in the comments. So I thought it was interesting. It says, and I quote, "I'm tired of my players playing 49% of snaps." And the trade is Jalen Waddle being received for Travis Hunter and a 27 third. And so I just wanted to use this as kind of just like a conversational piece. Not really like what side are you on, but like, are we moving off of Travis Hunter this quickly and for Jalen Waddle's points? Or Jalen Waddle equivalence points?
Yes, this quickly, these points, probably not. I'm fine with being upset with this usage. You should have seen it coming at some sort. I mean, we talked about this last week. It's like we always knew it was going to be a little bit chaotic. We was hoping there'd be some trend at least that we can like pick up on, right? Like a consistent on one side of the ball versus the other side of the ball. We don't have that, and it's not something fun to actually roster. It cannot be fun to roster Travis Hunter. So I'm perfectly fine saying get out of him. But I do believe you could have got something more.
Or given up less. Like, I think you probably could have gotten plus on the other side, potentially. Or I think you should be, I guess. I don't know. I just would be a little bit more patient because I do think that you're going to see some boom weeks that potentially are higher than what you see from Waddle. And there's going to be some better off-ramps for Travis Hunter. Super early in his career. I was just mentioned in the Discord or threw something in the Discord where they were talking about Eli Manning was talking about how Liam Cohen said that in college he didn't practice at all, not a lick with the offense. He would basically show up and they would say, run X route and kind of, this is what's going on in this play and go just basically wing it. And that's what he was doing in college. And so obviously I'm sure in the NFL, that's not what's happening. And he's, starting to learn scheme. He's starting to learn all those kind of things and kind of get worked into an offense. So I don't think it's going to be, clearly he is going to split the time 100% in some form or fashion. So I don't know if you're ever going to get as consistent of a wide receiver as you want. I just don't think I would do it necessarily like this, getting out on a Travis Hunter.
Yeah, that's where I fall as well. That's why I thought it was a good conversational piece, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. So I think that's it. I think that's the show.
That
Cool.
is. That's it.
All right. Well, I think we all would like to thank you guys for joining us again this week. Sometimes it just blows my mind that anybody wants to listen. And those who actually hop on live and comment, that also blows my mind. And I appreciate you. And I believe these other two gentlemen appreciate you as well. We are on the Discord, pretty active. Jake's very active in there. Sunday.
Too active.
There should be a
You don't
link
have
to join.
kids, that's why. As soon as you have kids, then it all goes.
In the
I'm
bottom.
not having kids,
And
baby.
kids get older, you have a little more time. But
Yeah.
join our Discord. And if neither Jake or Billy have anything else, you guys have a good night.
Nah, that's it. You crush it. Peace out, people. Be easy. We'll catch you next time.